Intro, viral hook. 1. She told you she just wants to be friends. She barely responds to your messages. She seems completely uninterested, and yet something inside you knows that what exists between you two isn't nothing. Here's what almost nobody tells you. A woman's initial lack of interest is rarely a final verdict. It's almost always a response to a version of you that she hasn't fully seen yet. And today, we're going to change what she sees, not by manipulating her, not by playing games, but by understanding the psychology of female desire at a level that most men never reach in their entire lives. 2. Welcome to the channel where we go deep into real human psychology and what actually drives attraction, desire, and connection between men and women. If you're new here, subscribe now, because what we discuss here is not the recycled dating advice you've seen everywhere else. Today's video is specifically about the psychology behind female desire, why it works differently than male desire, what actually activates it, and how a man can go from being invisible to unforgettable in a woman's mind without changing who he fundamentally is. 3. Before we dive in, I need to set something straight right at the beginning so that everything that follows lands correctly. This video is not about manipulation. It's not about tricks or pressure tactics or making someone feel something they genuinely don't want to feel. It's about understanding the real psychological mechanisms behind female desire so that you can present the most authentic and most compelling version of yourself and give genuine attraction the space it needs to grow naturally. There's a massive difference between those two things, and it matters enormously. Segment 1. Why female desire works differently. 4. The first thing you need to understand about female desire is that it operates on a completely different timeline and through completely different triggers than male desire. Male desire tends to be immediate and visual. It activates quickly, and the decision about attraction is made in seconds. Female desire is slower, more layered, and far more influenced by emotional and psychological factors that accumulate over time rather than arriving in a single moment. This difference explains why a woman who seems uninterested today can become genuinely and deeply attracted to the same man weeks later, if the right psychological conditions are created in that time. 5. Psychologists call this phenomenon slow burn attraction, and it's far more common in women than most men realize. A woman doesn't always know she's attracted to someone the first time she meets them. In many cases, the attraction develops retroactively. She realizes she's been thinking about him, realizes she notices when he's not around, realizes that her interest has been quietly growing beneath the surface of what she consciously registered. Understanding that her initial not interested is often just not yet interested changes everything about how you approach this situation. 6. There's also a concept in female psychology called the emotional investment threshold. The point at which a woman's emotional investment in a person crosses from casual awareness into genuine desire. Below that threshold, you are simply a pleasant presence in her world. Above it, you become someone she actively thinks about, seeks out, and begins to prioritize. The entire psychology of creating desire in a woman who seems uninterested is fundamentally about understanding what raises you toward and across that threshold. And it has almost nothing to do with what most men focus on. 7. Here's the key insight that separates men who understand female psychology from men who don't. Women don't desire men who need their desire to feel complete. The moment a woman senses that your sense of value, your emotional stability, and your happiness depend on her reciprocating your interest, the attraction possibility drops dramatically. This is not because women are cruel or enjoy power games. It's because genuine desire cannot coexist with obligation or pity. She needs to feel like she's choosing you freely, and free choice requires that not choosing you also be a genuinely acceptable option. Comment break 1. 8. Drop a comment right now. Have you ever been in a situation where a woman seemed completely uninterested and then something shifted and her attitude toward you changed completely? What do you think changed? And if you're a woman watching this, is what I'm describing about slow burn attraction accurate to your own experience? The comment section is where the real conversation happens on this channel, and I read every single one. Share this video with someone who needs this perspective today. Segment 2. The Psychology of Perceived Value. 9. The single most powerful psychological lever in creating desire in a woman who seems uninterested is what psychologists call perceived value, and it works in ways that are far more nuanced than most dating coaches explain. Perceived value is not about being rich or famous or physically perfect. It's about the story that your presence, your behavior, and your energy tells about who you are and what kind of life you live. Women are extraordinarily sensitive readers of that story, and they're reading it constantly, whether you're aware of it or not. 10. Here's what most men get wrong about perceived value. They try to demonstrate it through words and statements rather than through behavior and presence. Telling a woman about your achievements, your ambitions, your connections, your lifestyle, these things communicate the opposite of high value, because high-value people don't need to announce their value. They demonstrate it unconsciously through how they carry themselves, how they treat other people, how comfortable they are in their own skin, and crucially, how little they need external validation to feel good about themselves. 11. The behavior that most rapidly raises a man's perceived value in a woman's eyes is what I call selective investment, and it's something that naturally high-value men do without thinking about it. Selective investment means that your attention, your time, your interest, and your energy are clearly not given to everyone equally. When you're genuinely interested in someone, you're fully present. When you're not pretending. This selectivity communicates that your attention has real value, that being the recipient of it means something. And things that mean something are desired. Things that are freely available to everyone are not. 12. There is also a psychological phenomenon called pre-selection that operates powerfully in female attraction, and understanding it can completely change how you carry yourself in social environments. Pre-selection is the psychological principle that a person's attractiveness increases when other people clearly find them attractive or valuable. When a woman observes that other women enjoy your company, that other men respect you, that people gravitate toward you naturally, her own perception of your value adjusts upward automatically. You don't manufacture this. You create the conditions for it by genuinely investing in your social life, your friendships, and your community. Comment break 2. 13. Here's a question worth sitting with before you answer it in the comments. If you removed the woman you're interested in from the equation completely, would your life still be genuinely interesting, full, and worth being excited about? Or has your focus on her been quietly replacing the work of building a life that stands on its own? Answer honestly. Because the answer to that question tells you more about why she's not yet interested than anything else possibly could. Write your honest answer below. Segment 3. The Emotional Triggers of Female Desire. 14. Female desire has specific emotional triggers that are wired into the psychology of attraction, and understanding them gives you a roadmap that most men never have access to. The first and most foundational trigger is emotional safety. A woman must feel safe around you before desire can grow. Not physically safe only, but emotionally safe. Safe to be herself without judgment. Safe to be imperfect without rejection. Safe to have different opinions without conflict. Before anything else, this safety must exist, because desire cannot grow in an environment where a woman is constantly managing your reactions to her. 15. The second emotional trigger is what psychologists call challenge, and this is the one most misunderstood and most abused in dating advice. Challenge does not mean being cold or unavailable or artificially difficult. It means being a person with standards, with direction, with genuine opinions, and with a life that doesn't reorganize itself around a woman simply because she's attractive. A man with real challenge in his character communicates unconsciously that being with him requires her to bring her best self, and that implicit requirement is deeply attractive to any woman who values herself. 16. The third emotional trigger is mystery, but not the mystery of being deliberately vague or withholding. It's the mystery of depth. When a woman senses that there are layers to you that she hasn't fully discovered yet, that conversations with you consistently go somewhere unexpected, that you have an interior life that is rich and private and not immediately on display, she becomes curious. And curiosity is the seed from which desire grows. The man who reveals everything about himself immediately out of nervous energy or a desire to impress leaves no room for curiosity to take root. 17. The fourth trigger is competence. Not just professional competence, but the broader quality of being genuinely good at things and genuinely passionate about getting better at them. When a woman sees a man who is deeply engaged with something he cares about, whether it's his work, a craft, a sport, a creative pursuit, and she sees the focus and the discipline and the passion that he brings to it, she experiences an attraction that has nothing to do with the activity itself. It's the quality of his engagement that she finds desirable. Passion is one of the most attractive things a human being can display. 18. The fifth emotional trigger is perhaps the least obvious but arguably the most powerful, the sense that you see her more clearly than she sees herself. When a man consistently notices things about a woman that she hasn't fully recognized in herself, her intelligence, her specific way of thinking about things, her particular kind of courage, and names those things without flattery or exaggeration, the effect is profound. She begins to associate the feeling of being her best self with being around you, and wanting to feel your best self is one of the most natural desires there is. Comment break 3. 19. Of these 5 emotional triggers, safety, challenge, mystery, competence, and being truly seen, which one do you think is most missing from how you currently show up? Be honest with yourself, because this is the question that leads to real change. Write it in the comments and also write what you think you could do differently starting today. The men who do this work in the comments section are the ones whose lives actually shift, not just who watch a video and move on to the next one. Segment 4, What creates desire versus what kills it. 20. Let's talk about what specifically creates desire in a woman who is currently not interested, and then we'll talk about what kills it just as specifically. The first thing that creates desire is an upgrade in your relationship with yourself. Nothing is more magnetically attractive than a man who genuinely likes himself, not arrogantly, not performatively, but quietly and solidly. When you walk into a room comfortable in your own skin, when you speak without constantly monitoring how you're being received, when you laugh easily and aren't derailed by small social friction, women notice. And what they notice creates a very specific kind of interest. 21. The second thing that creates desire where none existed is making her feel genuinely good about herself when she's around you. Not through compliments specifically, but through the quality of your attention and engagement. When a woman leaves an interaction with you feeling more interesting, more intelligent, more alive than she felt before it started, she associates that feeling with you, and she will seek out the source of that feeling. You don't create this by flattering her. You create it by being genuinely curious about her inner world and responding to what you find there with real interest and zero judgment. 22. The third desire creator is social proof through authentic engagement with your own life. When she sees, not hears, sees, that you have genuine friendships, genuine passions, genuine commitments to things beyond your interest in her, your attractiveness increases in her perception automatically. This is not about performing a lifestyle for her benefit. It's about actually having a life that is full and interesting and meaningful, which is something you should be doing regardless of any woman's interest in you. 23. Now let's talk about what kills desire before it has a chance to develop. And the number one desire killer is availability without investment. When a man is immediately and completely available to a woman who hasn't yet invested in him, always responding instantly, always making time, always adjusting his schedule, he communicates that she already has him completely and that no further investment on her part is required. Desire requires some degree of wanting what you don't yet fully have. Complete availability removes that entirely, and with it goes the possibility of genuine desire. 24. The second desire killer is emotional neediness expressed through behavior, even when it's not spoken directly. When a man is visibly affected by a woman's level of interest, when his mood shifts based on whether she responded or didn't, when his confidence is clearly contingent on her attention, she feels the weight of his emotional dependence without him having said a word about it. That weight is exhausting, and it is fundamentally incompatible with desire. No woman wants to feel responsible for a man's emotional state before she's even chosen to be with him. 25. The third desire killer, and this one is extremely common and extremely damaging, is treating her like she's already yours before she's chosen to be. This shows up as possessiveness before commitment, as jealousy before exclusivity, as expectations before any agreement has been established. It communicates insecurity rather than confidence, and it removes the autonomy that makes her choice to be with you meaningful. A woman needs to feel like she chose you freely. The moment she feels pressured or obligated, the desire collapses entirely. Comment break 4. 26. Be brutally honest in the comments. Which of these desire killers have you been guilty of in a situation where you were interested in a woman who wasn't fully reciprocating? Immediate availability, emotional neediness, or treating her like she's already yours? Most men have done all three at some point without realizing what it was communicating. Naming it is the first step to changing it. And share this video, because most men are losing potential connections to these patterns completely unconsciously. Segment 5. The practical steps to shift her perception. 27. Now let's get completely practical, because theory without application is just entertainment. Here are the specific behavioral steps that create the psychological conditions for desire to grow in a woman who currently seems uninterested. These steps work not because they're clever tactics, but because they directly address the psychological mechanisms we've discussed. Do them consistently and authentically, and the shift in how she perceives you will be real, not manufactured. 28. Step 1. Immediately stop making her the center of your emotional universe and start making yourself the center of your own. This means actively investing in your physical health, your professional development, your friendships, your creative pursuits, and your personal growth with the same energy you've been putting into thinking about her. This is not a tactic to make her jealous. It's the foundation of everything else, because a man with a genuinely full life is intrinsically more attractive than a man whose life revolves around a woman who hasn't chosen him yet. 29. Step 2. When you do interact with her, be completely present but not intensely focused on her in a way that creates pressure. Think of yourself as a person who is fully enjoying the interaction without needing it to go anywhere specific. Ask questions about things you're genuinely curious about. Share perspectives that are actually yours. Disagree with her when you actually disagree, politely, without aggression, but genuinely. Men who challenge women intellectually while remaining warm and non-threatening are remembered long after men who agreed with everything she said have been forgotten entirely. 30. Step 3. Create positive emotional experiences in her presence without attaching any agenda to them. Make her laugh. Share something that genuinely interests or moves you. Introduce her to an idea or a perspective she hasn't encountered before. The goal of each interaction should not be, did I move closer to her being interested in me? The goal should be, did we have a genuinely good interaction that she'll remember positively? The first goal creates pressure she can feel. The second creates memories that accumulate into something much more powerful than any single impressive moment. 31. Step 4. Become genuinely comfortable with her not being interested, not as a performance of indifference, but as a real internal state. This is the hardest step and also the most important one. When you are truly at peace with the possibility that she may never become romantically interested in you, when you like yourself enough that her interest is a wonderful addition rather than a necessary ingredient, your entire energy around her shifts in a way that is impossible to fake. And that shift is one of the most attractive things she will ever experience from you. 32. Step 5. Let time do what it cannot be forced to do. Female desire on a slow burn timeline cannot be rushed without being ruined. The men who understand this are patient not because they're passive, but because they're confident enough in who they are to trust that consistent, authentic presence is more powerful than any strategy or technique. They know that genuine attraction, once it starts forming, doesn't need to be pushed. It needs to be given room to breathe and grow at its own natural pace. Comment break 5. 33. Of these 5 steps, which one feels most challenging for you personally right now and why? Write it in the comments with as much honesty as you can manage. Because the step that feels most difficult is almost always the one that would create the most change if you actually did it. And if this video is giving you real value today, share it with someone who needs it. Because the men who need this most are often surrounded by advice that makes things worse instead of better. Segment 6. The deeper truth about desire. 34. Here's the deeper truth that all of the psychology in this video has been pointing toward. The truth that makes everything else make sense at a level beyond tactics and techniques. A woman's desire is ultimately not something you create in her. It's something you make space for by becoming the kind of man that makes desire a natural response. The work is not on her. It's on you. And the men who understand this are the ones who stop trying to figure out how to make a specific woman interested and start focusing on becoming the kind of man that high-quality women are naturally drawn to. 35. There is a profound shift that happens in a man's life when he internalizes this truth completely. He stops approaching interactions with women from a place of lack, trying to get something, trying to secure something, trying to convince someone of his value. He starts approaching them from a place of genuine abundance, offering his presence, his perspective, his attention, as gifts that have real value regardless of whether they're reciprocated. That shift in internal orientation changes everything about how he comes across, and it changes everything about the results he gets without him having to consciously manage his behavior at all. 36. The woman who seems uninterested right now is responding to the version of you she's seen so far. That version may have been anxious, or overly available, or performing rather than being. The version of you that emerges when you do the real work, when you build a genuinely full life, when you develop genuine security in yourself, when you learn to be truly present with people, that version is someone she may not have met yet. And meeting that version for the first time creates the conditions for something real to begin. 37. It's also important to say this clearly because it's a truth that the best versions of this conversation always include. Sometimes genuine attraction simply doesn't exist between two specific people, and no amount of self-improvement will change that. And that is completely okay. The goal of everything in this video is not to guarantee that any specific woman becomes interested in you. The goal is to ensure that your best self is consistently present, so that the women who are genuinely compatible with who you really are have every opportunity to recognize that and respond to it. Comment break 6. 38. I want to hear your most honest reaction to this video in the comments. Did something shift in how you see this situation you've been in? Did something challenge you? Did something confirm what you already felt but couldn't articulate? Real comments, real reactions. That's what this channel is about. And if you've been watching this channel for a while and it's given you real value, today is the day to share it with someone who needs it. One share can change the trajectory of someone's relationships entirely. Segment 7, The Final Truth. 39. Female desire is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a response to be earned. Not through performance or strategy or the careful management of impressions, but through the genuine work of becoming a man who is worth desiring. A man who knows himself. A man who has built something real. A man who can be fully present with another human being without needing them to complete him. A man who is secure enough to let a woman's choice be genuinely free. That man is rare. That man is remembered. That man creates desire that is real, lasting, and freely given, which is the only kind worth having. 40. The woman who isn't interested yet is not your problem to solve. She is information about where you currently are in your own development and your own understanding of genuine attraction. Use that information well. Build the life, do the internal work, develop the presence, and let the results take care of themselves, because they always do for the man who is genuinely committed to becoming his best self rather than to securing any specific outcome. Subscribe to this channel because this is the conversation we have here every single week. Share this video with a man who needs this perspective today. And drop a comment telling me the one thing from this video that hit differently. I read every single one and I'll respond. See you in the next one.